Hello, hello, Regina-Lewvan. I'm Susan Cameron. Thank you so much for joining. This is my first ever Facebook Live event, anything like this before. So I will ask for you to grant me a little bit of grace if I do it wrong. I've got some really great volunteers here with me today that are going to help me get through this with you. Oh, it looks like we already have a glitch. But I see there's four of us here. Maybe there's a glare behind me. Is that what the issue is?
See, we're getting a bit of a glare. We're
Here,
just gonna
how about right there?
Perfect.
There we go. I got my lovely window in front of me that didn't know was going to be an issue, but I guess it is. So thanks. I see. Oh, folks are all joining. This is really great. Again, Susan Cameron. I guess you know who I am if you're coming here to listen to me. I am coming to you from my home office, which previous to the pandemic was actually my son's childhood bedroom, because many of you probably can identify with that, spending time in a bedroom over the pandemic. And so that's where I'm coming to you from today. I'm here to answer some questions and also to tell you a bit about myself. Since this is our first meeting doing this together, I think I'll start by introducing myself to you. I'm a Saskatchewan girl. Spent my first 3 years in Saskatoon. Don't hold it against me, please. Moved here with my family at the age of 3. And my dad came here, Bob Cameron came here to establish a trauma center for southern Saskatchewan. And lucky for Regina, he brought along his fantastic wife, Jean Cameron, who went on to be an amazing volunteer in many different areas, including as president of the YWCA and right now chair of her board at Sunset United Church. So serving our community is in my DNA. It's who I am. Certainly it was an expectation, and that's what I've loved to do with my life. I went to school here at the University of Regina, but it was a little bit of a different path because I had graduated from Sheldon Williams as an Anglophone, taken core French classes, but in grade 12, I decided I wanted to be bilingual. And someone came to our school, offered us the chance to study in French, do our second year at Université Laval in Quebec City. And that sounded like a great idea to me. So went into the bac program and came out with an education degree. It wasn't necessarily what I thought I was going to do, but I turned out to be pretty good at it. I loved teaching. My first positions did not bear a lot of resemblance to what my training was. I was trained to be a high school French immersion history teacher, and my very first job was at 2 different elementary schools, kindergarten to grade 3, teaching the fine arts and kindergarten phys ed as well. Had to teach kids how to line up. Did you know that kids don't necessarily know how to line up or make a circle? That's what kindergarten teachers do. So hats off to our kindergarten teachers. Throughout my time at Regina Public Schools, I did end up teaching high school French immersion history. Maybe some of my students are still around, and I hope that they'll vote for me coming up on September 20th. I also went back to school while my kids were babies during my mat leaves. I went back and took classes to finish up my BA in French. And then I just kept on going. I returned again to get my master's in French literary translation is my master's, my MA. And from there, then I went on to teach at the university, taught French classes for adults, taught French classes for students. And at a certain point, I then went on over to FCC as a French teacher there, and then transferred into what has turned out to be really a job for me that gelled with all of who I am, and that was in the team at, oh, my watch is talking to me, I'm going to take it off. At FCC, I then joined the community investment team. And in that position, I had the great privilege of helping charities and nonprofits across the country, in particular food banks and feeding programs, and figuring out how we could improve Canada's food security issues and responsible production and consumption. Really found my passion there. And I took a leave from that job to put my name on your ballot so that Regina-Lewvan has the chance to elect a strong and informed bilingual voice to be in the room where decisions are being made, where priorities are being set going forward. We really missed that. I would add one more thing about my volunteer years. 30 years I've been serving this community as a volunteer as well. Could be through my church, Sunset United Church, but particularly I've been very passionate about aquatics. You can see a lovely portrait behind me of a lady swimming, and that really illustrates who I am. I've been a water polo player since the age of 13, played on some Western Canadian teams, but I did see that I had less opportunity to succeed in my sport than my brothers did. And that drove me to, as an adult, contribute to the organization and planning of sport so that women and girls could have equal opportunities going forward. So became the president of Water Polo Saskatchewan, sat on many boards, and I've coached many, many fantastic kids.
Take a question.
Take a question, says my volunteers. Okay, let's take a look. I've been just talking away. Oh, I have a question that says, why are you running? I am running because Regina-Lewvan needs a voice. Regina needs a voice. Saskatchewan needs a voice in government. In 2019, we had an election where the voters decided to send an entire slate of opposition MPs. And we lost our voice in government. We lost our voice in cabinet. We lost our voice in caucus that would speak to Saskatchewan's specific concerns and realities. You know, and that loss has been felt by all of us. So many of us, regardless of how we did vote in that election. Western producers, local businesses, charities, nonprofits, our families were all now underrepresented in caucus for our country, and that needs to change. So all residents of Regina-Lewvan deserve to have a voice in government. So I feel really passionately about making sure that there's a strong name, and that's my name. I know so many brilliant, talented people, caring, fantastic women who can't run for personal, professional reasons, and I can. And so I am. And I'm doing this on their behalf. Okay, so hopefully that speaks to that a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down. Sorry for the radio silence here again. Gotta scroll. I'm in here, post your questions. Sorry, I'm reading along with you. Oh, we've got a comment about water polo players being the best. Well, all the good stuff. I see a question here. Why did we need this election? You know, I was out knocking doors today in Parliament Place, and this issue did come up twice. I understand the question. Our system with minority governments is built this way. Typically, a minority government lasts about 2 years. This is about normal. And these last 2 years have been very unusual. The 2019 election had nothing in those platforms about how to get through a pandemic. And this minority government, slammed into this crisis and made extraordinary decisions and legislation because of these extraordinary situations. This is our chance to say whether we approved of the decisions that were made. Myself, having been in this room during this time, working from home, I did feel that the federal government provided its essential and most important responsibility, which was to keep me, my family, and my community safe. Extraordinary measures to offer supports to young people, for wages for workers, for rent subsidies, all of these extraordinary measures that were put into place. Did you approve? Were you able to access the supports that you needed? Was your family able to access supports that were needed? And then, then it was the procuring of vaccines, an impossible task for the entire world. And here we are ahead of schedule with abundant access to vaccines. So I believe that this is our chance to respond to how the government has reacted to the pandemic. Okay, shall we take another question? I'm going to look. Merci d'avoir porté candidate pour apporter notre voix à Ottawa. Merci, Alpha. Where am I at? Oh, I have to expand this one. It's a long one. From Susan. Let's see. Lots of good Susans. Regina Mayor Sandra Masters has said, oops, it moved again, has said that we will work to get Regina a new competitive pool that can hold national and international events for aquatic sports. When you are elected, can we expect your support to bring projects to Regina that our citizens benefit from? Oh, Susan, absolutely, that would be wonderful. So in particular, that you would mention an aquatic center. I have been on committees for the past several years where we have been offering specifics on what kind of pool we need or how we could expand the Lawson, and proposing all kinds of possible solutions to the fact that Regina really needs to improve our facilities in aquatics. It would be a top priority for me to do what I can to work with Sandra Masters, Mayor Masters, in order to get to secure funding for that project, for sure. And certainly we've all benefited so much in the past from having Ralph Goodale in cabinet and caucus, and some of our great projects with the Big Dig, Wascana Park, the RCMP, beautiful museum, the center, the Heritage Center. These are all wonderful things that he brought to us, and there's so much more that he didn't even toot his horn about as much. Absolutely, we need a voice in Ottawa putting up our hand to say, yes, we want that. Yes, we want more. So, yes. Okay. I see Amanda asks the question. about, oops, and now I've got a pop-up coming in front about going somewhere else. Amanda, something that I'm really passionate about as a defining issue is the affordable, accessible, and inclusive childcare. I really would love to be elected here so that I can help ensure that the agreement between the Saskatchewan government and the federal government for those monies is honored. That's something that I feel very strongly about. Okay, I'm going to move on to Conrad. Can you talk about your experiences with new Canadians and what they contribute to our community? Well, what they contribute to our community. Regina and Saskatchewan, we wouldn't be the same without new Canadians coming, years ago, and First Nations, we need to work with them as well. I have a lovely story to tell a bit about a friend of mine named Rubaya Shahid, who arrived from Bangladesh, and we were able to work together to find great housing and a really great job. And she had the qualifications necessary. She was very adept already in financial. I think she had a degree in finance from the University of London, but was underemployed. And we were able to work to make sure that she has permanent employment and works together. And we need to, not just Susan Cameron, private citizen. If elected, I would love to be a connector for all new Canadians, in particular folks who are underemployed. On the doorstep, I'm speaking to people who have all kinds of qualifications and want to contribute more. In Regina, we need that in order to move forward together. And yes, we need to be inclusive and find all the opportunities for everyone. I know it's not a great answer, but yes. Okay, I'm going to try to scroll down here. Hi, Ron. Thanks for coming to listen. Let's see. Oh, my goodness. What do we have here? You know what? There's a question here about Fox News and running on cable networks. I'm afraid, Doug, I am not really sure about this question. What can be done to stop allowing Fox News Channel to run in Canada? This is something that I'm going to have to look into more. It's certainly not my area of expertise. Whether it's the CRT's responsibility to ensure journalism appears on Canadian TV. I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm going to go down to a next question here. Climate change. We're seeing the effects of climate change every day. Whether it has been the extreme drought here in Saskatchewan or the fires that have been really throughout Western Canada. And I join all of those who advocate for net zero emissions and for driving forward for a just transition to a green economy of the future. And I am also aware that because of our Saskatchewan realities and our agricultural backgrounds, I know that a transition that is too swift and too quick away from oil and gas will leave behind every single farm in Saskatchewan. And we need to make sure that that is brought up and present in discussions that come up because climate change is going to be an enormous issue for our next government. And the decisions that are taken and made in the next 4 years by the next government are going to affect us for the next 50 at least. And this is one of those key decisions. And I know that you need to have a voice at the table where those decisions are being made. And I want to be there for you. We have a question here about a municipal jurisdiction. Who's sliding that in there? About fluoride to the city's water supply. Do you have a personal position on the safety of fluoride in drinking water? Well, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, or whatever this is, Facebook Live, I was born in Saskatoon, spent my first years there, and we did have fluoride in our water there. And I know that when we moved to Regina, my mom every morning would put fluoride drops in our orange juice in the morning. And I did that for my kids as well, especially when they were young and their teeth were forming. I am not against having fluoride in the water. I don't have a particularly strong stand on it because, like I said, I was able to make my own personal choice for my kids, my family. But I don't know the science behind it necessarily, but I believe it's good for all kids' teeth. So I would be in favor of it. Okay, we have another question here. Disappointed member of Regina-Lewvan, who is disappointed in the current MPs voting to keep conversion therapy legal in Canada. And how do I feel about this subject? Well, I absolutely believe that conversion therapy is dangerous and damaging and has no place in Canada. And I would say that part of who I am, a good part of who I am, was formed in my church, the United Church of Canada. And you say, oh, well, what kind of a stand does your church have on this? Well, I would tell you that back in the late 1990s, way back in the 90s, we're going to go retro here, our community was discussing who the new minister was going to be, who was coming to be a minister at our church. And one lady leaned over in front of us and asked of another congregant, so the new minister is coming. What's his wife's name? And the answer to that was Brian. And so through my church, I was introduced to a wonderful couple who educated from within and educated without educating, and just showing me that love is love and respect love wherever you find it. And our church then, in the past several years, as we've been fighting to ban conversion therapy, has been instrumental in putting together signatures from 40 different churches, mosques, synagogues throughout the whole city in favor of banning this legislation. So if the argument comes up that it's religious institutions who need this conversion therapy, I say that is wrong. Okay, who else do we have? Oh, Rana, what do you say to people who really dislike Trudeau? That's a tough one. And I do hear it on the doorstep, that people have a visceral reaction to the leader of the party that I strongly follow and have followed my whole life. I don't know that I can really say much to change people's emotional reaction to it. I am a Liberal Party member, have been my whole life, and in fact, My grandfather and great-grandfather represented Saskatoon in the provincial legislature for the Liberal Party in Saskatchewan. For me, it's never been a question of federally which party to vote for. I've always been someone who, on a social justice side, really believes in inclusion and moving forward. And I hear that from our Prime Minister. I do. And I hear also, and I know that he has taken concrete actions on that side as well for anti-Black racism, reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. His government has done more than any government in the history of Canada. And there's still much more to do, yes. I can't agree, absolutely, with folks who feel that way. But I hear it, and I am doing this for our party and for you. Oh my goodness, you know what, I was terrified about doing this, and I also thought for sure my dog was going to come running up the stairs and disrupt everything. He's a great big mix that we got from the Humane Society last summer during COVID. And I can't believe we have only 4 minutes left together. I want to thank you all so very much for coming to my very first Facebook Live event. Really means a lot that you took your time out of your day to do this. I thank you all also for being respectful in the comments. I'm noticing already for sure that being a political candidate does attract a fair amount of folks who feel very strongly against what I stand for. And I appreciate that all of you were supportive today. Not to say that you can't have questions, but that we can all be respectful in this process. We will be doing another one, oh my goodness, since I didn't fall flat on my face, I hope. We will be doing another one. When are we doing another one? I think next week. Please come back and visit with me again here in my son's old bedroom. We will be doing this in a safe way going forward, regardless of how things work out in the real world. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. La prochaine fois, si vous avez aussi des questions en français, ça me ferait plaisir de répondre en français. Désolée de n'avoir pas mentionné ça avant. Thank you so much for your time. I think we're going to sign off now. Thank you. Bye-bye.